Good evening, kiddies, and welcome to the Alcohol and Anime Night Halloween special, my favorite episode of the entire year. And tonight, we've got sexy retro gaming vampires and cross-dressing zombies. That's right, I've got a late night double feature for you guys tonight with 2 reviews. And of course, we're going to check out the original sin, Black Widow Cider. You know what, just crack it open right now. Let's give it a go. That's a little sweeter of a cider than I'm used to, but I prefer a sweeter cider. Now, they actually also offer this in a non-alcoholic White Widow version, if you just like the taste of cider, which in this case, I could actually kind of see that making sense. So you get both for your Halloween party and have a designated driver. Now let's start out our evening with a retro gaming monster mash, and that is an anime called Darkstalkers Night Warriors. Darkstalkers, aka Vampire Hunter, depending on what region you're from, is a 4-episode OVA that ran from 1997 to 1998, based on the hit arcade fighting game of the same name. Not to be confused with Darkstalkers, the animated series that also aired in 1995, but that's a different thing. In the arcades, Darkstalkers was basically Street Fighter 2, only with monsters from around the world. The Street Fighter franchise had seen wild success in the arcades and was now branching out to both movies and television, and it only seemed natural that Darkstalkers would follow suit. The basic premise of the anime is that all the classical monsters from around the world are actually creatures called Darkstalkers, who the public generally hates. A big bad fire guy named Pyron, voiced by the great David Kaye, he shows up and he decides that it's time to take over the world. Also, there are giant Mayan robots because plot. All the Darkstalkers have to try to stop this world-ending threat, but how? By doing super sweet video game combos, of course, rather than, say, teaming up with more than one other super powerful monster. Our cast is straight from the game's character select screen, minus a few that are killed off in an Act 3 flashback. While many of you may not be familiar with Darkstalkers, you are almost certainly familiar with the character Morrigan. Now, this sexy succubus Elvira wannabe has most prominently appeared alongside a few of her Darkstalkers game mates in the Marvel vs. Capcom series, and was a fan favorite among men and women of culture everywhere. Capcom has made a king's ransom on her merch alone, which is probably why it was surprising that she wasn't really the main character in this show. They don't even lean into the sexy succubus angle at all, which has so much potential. Minus a few cool special moves that she does, her appearances in the show are disappointing at best. Frankly, I just don't know how they managed to make a flying cleavage monster boring. Our closest thing to a main character is Donovan, a low-rent vampire hunter D who hangs out with a little girl. That little girl, Anita, is another super bummer character that we are teased may have some amazing power, but we never really get to see. Rounding out the cast is Dimitri, a totally not Dracula vampire who seems like a villain, but then isn't maybe. Lord Raptor, he's a zombie rocker dude, and he's straight from the Iron Maiden album cover. It's Shinko Smurf, her sister Mei-Ling, along with Felicia the Bekaneko cat girl, that ultimately carry the entire series in the final episodes. While the fight scenes and character concepts are good, the story arcs are far too convoluted. The result is an overly ambitious mix of silly and serious concepts, all while trying to introduce and flesh out way too many characters and fit in giant robots. There is well over an hour of plot that just doesn't pay off at all and is flat out boring. I really would have liked to see a 90-minute movie more like the Street Fighter movies did, and I think a focus on fewer characters would have actually helped with character development a bit more. In this case, I would say stick to the games, stick to the merch, especially the versus Capcom games. Those are great. The classic one is available on Steam and the PlayStation Store for like a couple of bucks. That one's definitely worth checking out. I checked it out just for this review. Big Bad Toy Store, they actually have a pre-order out right now for this really cool Morrigan posable character that has swappable faces and really allows her to recreate several of the moves and animations from the game. So check that out. It ain't cheap though. Up next is the perfect Halloween anime. It has characters dressing up in crazy costumes, zombies, busty vampires, and chainsaw battles. And no, it's not this one. Is This a Zombie, or Kore wa Zombie desu ka, is an anime from 2011 that ran for 2 seasons and probably has snuck under the radar of a lot of younger or newer anime fans. However, it is a definite must-watch classic. Main character, Aikawa Ayumu, gets turned into a zombie by a cute necromancer he met at a convenience store. Then, if things weren't weird enough, he stumbles into a fight between a monster and a magical girl. He gets injured in the fight and somehow ends up stealing her power. Now, anyone that knows anything about magical girls knows one thing. They can't do any of their cool magical stuff until they change into their costume. Unfortunately for our protagonist, this still holds true, providing the lucky audience with hilarious scenes of a cross-dressing, chainsaw-wielding zombie dude. The harem of crazy girls starts with Haruna. She is the tsundere magical girl who had her powers stolen. There's Euclidwood Hellscythe, also known as Yu, and she is a cute necromancer that Ayumu constantly fantasizes as the little sister type. And there's Seraphim, and she is a mean, busty vampire ninja, which is a lot of things together that sound awesome. Throw all of that into a cauldron, stir it with a healthy shovelful of ecchi over low heat, and you have a potion for one of the most entertaining, lewd, supernatural harems of the 2010s. Do we call it the 2010s? Thank you so much for joining me for the Halloween special. It's my favorite episode of the year, and I want to give an extra thank you to those who helped get us over 100 subscribers. That's such a big deal and such a milestone for me. And as a special thanks, I want to give you an extra honorable mention anime that you should watch this spooky season. And it's a show called School Live. Now, I don't want to tell you anything about it. I want you to watch it and go in blind. And I promise you it's not some Boku no Pico prank situation. It's not a trick. It is a show that I promise you'll like, and it's got a nice little surprise twist once you watch it. So definitely check that one out. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed what we do here. And I want you to check out last year's Halloween special that was an exclusive to Rumble. I'll put a link to it below. But until next time, happy Halloween. Kampai.